Battlefield 2042 beta sucked. I know a lot of you probably want to say something mean or hateful in the comments after saying that, maybe even calling me a COD fanboy, even though I said something along the lines of like Battlefield 2042 will end up killing Call of Duty, which I still maintain as like the truth. But for those of you who are a little upset, let me at least do a little disclaimer. Yes, this is a beta, which means you'll experience things such as glitches, weapons balance issues, or even just overall performance issues, but know that just because it is a beta doesn't mean that I'm going to hold back from ripping into it, because when we have things like this and we don't even kind of like criticize it at all, it leads to just junk like this. Also, because DICE is very notorious for releasing a beta as is or as the final copy of the game. And before I start harping on all the negatives, believe me, there is a lot to harp about. I want to at least state the couple positives. One, rocket launchers in this game are uber satisfying. And two, graphically, this game is incredible. It's just crazy to think that we've come from the GoldenEye era of just like pixelated garbage to this beautiful, kind of real-life-ish looking game. And I think it really just speaks to how great DICE does with their graphics and how much attention to detail they put into the game. That being said, though, just because they have good graphics doesn't mean there's a good game, because it's very clear that, yes, the game is beautiful, but the game barely functions at all, which is kind of like, I think, pretty standard with DICE games. It's a generally very beautiful game, but there's always some weird kind of like glitches in terms of like your screen flashing a lot or a lot of latency issues. And I think it's because, to be honest, I don't think this engine can function based off of what DICE uses. Like, yes, they're designing these beautiful levels and beautiful like kind of set pieces, but I don't think the engine can handle any of that. I think performance-wise, it just your whole entire game will shit the bed. The other thing is, it's blowing out motherboards right now. I actually saw a tweet the other day from the Russian Badger, and his entire computer, I guess, caught on fire or something because his computer couldn't really handle the graphics. And I think that, to a point, is like kind of ridiculous. Which goes to my other point. Like, I was playing this on the PlayStation 5 over the weekend, and honestly, it felt like I had a ton of performance issues. Like, it felt like I was lagging all over the place. A lot of things weren't rendering in it on time. And it just kind of like felt like I was behind, even though I'm on the next set of consoles, which some of you out there are probably going to look and say, well, it's designed for the PC, or it's designed for this. And that's kind of ridiculous. Like, shut your mouth, because nothing should be designed for one thing or the other. Yeah, if it's supposed to be a little bit better on PC, that's fine. I completely understand that. But nothing should be just specifically designed for one thing or the other, because it's coming out on all these different platforms, and if it's just going to come out on all these different platforms and then just not function, don't release it on other platforms, you bunch of morons. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, watching videos from other streamers and all these content creators, it seemed like the beta was actually functioning pretty well for everyone else, but then you start hearing their complaints, and pretty much it's the same thing I've been saying the whole time. It felt like you're generally pretty behind, it felt like there's a lot of lag, felt like the weapon balance is a little weird. Like, it felt like the ARs in this game, like that M4 gun that they had at the start of the game, was very clear, far and away, one of the best assault rifles in the entire game. SMGs are pretty much close to unusable. LMGs are okay. The sniper rifles are pretty good. I mean, they're not, like, incredible. It felt like very inconsistent, where if you shot someone in the head, you may not have gotten them, but if you shot them in, like, the toenail, you probably would have got them in one shot. It was very bizarre, and I didn't understand what the point of that whole thing was. I also want to touch on one big thing, and it's the new thing that everyone thinks is cool, is the kind of how you can change your attachments mid-game. Very dumb, and it's very clunky. Like, the whole UI itself, extremely clunky. Doesn't really function properly. Doing it mid-game actually kind of feels very weird, and it could actually probably lead to a lot of balance issues, depending on the gun that you're using. Like, using the M4, for instance, and when I was playing, a lot of times I try to do different gunfights, and it felt like when I was changing attachments, I kind of was like cheating in a weird way. It felt like not how Call of Duty does it, where you can change your attachments mid-match. Like, doing it in the mid-fight is kind of ridiculous, and I don't think it's actually fair at all, because, yeah, there's a guy probably blasting you from miles away, but he has the proper attachments for that specific gunfight, and you don't. Like, sorry, bro, you're shit out of luck. That's not the other guy's fault. So I think it leads to a lot of balance issues, plus it just kind of feels clunky when you do it. The other thing is the semi-auto, like the different kind of fire selecting, felt really dumb, very clunky. Like, I have to aim down my sights to change my fire selection. Like, that is dumb. And there's nothing in that fire selection area, like, if you're not aiming down your sights anyway. So why can't I just do that specifically? The other thing is I want to talk about is the whole like different operators and stuff like that. I don't think it's that great. I think they're all pretty like the same. I think most people end up using McKay, the guy who can use the grappling hook. I don't see many other people using anything else, and I think that's the bigger problem is they should have just made that like a gadget for everyone to use. It Here's my problem. Here's the problem with this game. This beta feels like Apex Legends, Call of Duty, some other crappy game, all mixed into one game, and it doesn't feel like a Battlefield game. There was a guy who I actually saw on TikTok made an entire video about it, and there's a ton of different things that aren't in the game, such as like there's no kind of score that tells you how much damage you've done to somebody. That way you know that they're actually dead. There is a way to tell that people are getting killed, which is this world's tiniest font in the world, which is like, I know it's a dumb complaint, but like the font in this game is incredibly small and it is ridiculous. Like if I was playing on a monitor, there was like a 19-inch monitor or something, and I still couldn't see people, and I was pretty much had my face glued to the TV, or monitor or whatever. I need to speak on the map, by the way. The map Orbital or whatever it is, Space Station, who cares? Worst map in the game. It is awful. First off, the whole thing about how like the weather changes and you get a tornado or something, that happens about 1 in a million. You don't get to see it very often, at least during my play sessions, I didn't see it very often. And a lot of the times, like, it doesn't really, you have to like kind of run into it, and it doesn't really add much to the map. It just kind of like takes sections of the map away, if that. It doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot. And it's just like you can kind of go into it and use your parachute, and people like to do like cool trick shots and stuff. But other than that, it doesn't really do you any good. It's kind of like more of a hindrance to the map. Also, it's kind of the fact that rocket can go up and down, like the rocket leaves every now and then. That also happens 1 in a million. Sometimes it gets blown up by some a-hole. Sometimes it just sits there the whole map. Or other times, it goes up, and then that's about it. And it's just, who cares? Which makes me wonder if the tornado and the rocket are supposed to like simultaneously happen. And I don't know if that's because like the game just doesn't function properly at all. But which it might. I don't know. But I feel like those two things are supposed to happen at the same time, and they just never do, if at all. Like, I've played full maps of just neither one of them happening. And my concern after playing the beta, which I need to speak on one other thing after this, is if this was your go-to map to kind of just show the world this is what you have, that's a really bad map to choose. It is the most boring, longest games ever. It is awful. It's not fun. It's just, you have to, like, force yourself into, like, combat situations. It's horrible. I don't understand why they put that in the game at all. They probably need to rework that whole entire thing. And it kind of goes back to my other point. Like, I feel like this game is very much designed to cater to other players that aren't Battlefield players. Like, this map feels kind of more Warzone. Actually, it feels like less of a Battlefield game, more than a Warzone match. Like, it just felt really weird and not kind of Battlefield. And that's kind of a weird thing. Like, you have super sprint, you have slide canceling. It's just like there's so many different things that are in other games that it doesn't feel like it's Battlefield. Obviously, there's probably a whole list of things that I'll just put in this video right about now. Final thing before I give my whole review analysis or whatever you want to call it. This was not an open beta. I think they ended up calling it an open beta, and I thought that was the most bizarre, ridiculous thing, because when I heard it was an open beta, I got all excited, downloaded the thing, and it just didn't let me do it because I had to purchase the game to do it, which is not an open beta at all. Like, that's a closed beta, which I don't know if it became open beta later, but I can tell you that's not an open beta. That's a closed beta that's open to the players that purchased your game. So I think you should have reworked that whole wording and whatnot. But I think that's really it. I don't think there was a ton more else that I want to say. If there is, I'm on Twitter or something. You can probably ask me there, or who cares, whatever. Follow me there somewhere. But here's my final analysis. I don't think this is ready for a final release. I think they need to push it back a little bit more. They need to Battlefield it a little bit more, because it feels more like other games being meshed into one. Plus, with all the glitches and the weapon balance issues and stuff like that, level design isn't great. Like, at least from what I played in that one map, they need to really step back and rework all this. It is not ready. It looked better on paper, I guess, or in trailer, than it actually did physically playing it. And I think it could still beat Call of Duty, but they need to, like, really try a little bit harder. And by try harder, I think they need to like add the list of things I put in the video, basically saying this is a Battlefield game, not a Call of Duty, Apex, Fortnite hybrid junk. You know what I mean? But that's all I have. I wonder what you guys think in the comments section. What do you guys think of the Battlefield 2042 beta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What things did you enjoy or not enjoy? What things could I have possibly missed? Let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, though, when we do something probably better than Call of Duty first-person shooter junk. So, all right, bye.